Hi, my name is Debra R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you pay the right vendor. Now, this week's Vendor Master File tip of the week is the difference between diversity classification and diversity certification. And I came up with this topic because really in the past month or so, I've been getting a lot of questions around what are diverse suppliers or diverse vendors, and how do I identify diverse vendors from my existing vendors in my vendor master file? And so I actually did a podcast about three options to do just that, and I will link to it after this video. It'll come up in one of the corners. So make sure you listen to that if you're interested. But for now, let's just tackle the really quick question of the difference between diversity classification and diversity certification. So looking at diversity certification or diversity classification first, it really is categories. So those are things like minority owned, women owned, veteran owned, or maybe even small business. And these are things that require 51% of ownership to be classified as that classification or category. And in the case of small business, there is a revenue threshold. Now, for some of these, your vendors can self-certify. You may even have a vendor self-registration portal or a vendor setup form that asks your vendor to check the boxes if they are one of those classifications or categories. But what you really want is you want to identify those vendors that are certified in these categories. So if we take a look at diversity certification, within these categories, for example, minority owned, there is a minority business enterprise certification or MBE. Within women owned, there is a women's business enterprise certification or MBE. It's also one that's combined with small business, the women owned small business certification or WOSB. And then with veteran owned, here are two examples of the veteran owned business certification or VBE for veterans. And then the next one is the service disabled veteran or DVBE. And then for small business, there's always the Small Business Administration or SBA 8A program. And for these, vendors are certified via a third party, and that third party can be a government entity. Sometimes the government entities will let you self-certify just depending on the classification. The next one is it may be third party entities that are certifying. And then lastly, when they are certified, they do have a certificate, and it also carries an expiration date. So if you're looking for certified vendors, make sure that if you're asking them either on a vendor self-registration portal or on your vendor setup form and they indicate that they are certified, ask for a copy of the certificate and then also ask for the expiration date. Okay, so I hope that cleared up the difference between diversity certification and diversity classification. And again, I will link to the podcast about three options to identify diverse suppliers or vendors in your vendor master file. So if you'd like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at debrarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, regulatory fines, and just overall bad vendor data. So good luck, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified next Tuesday for the next Vendor Master File tip of the week.